It's basically just giving regular people that can't act an acting job and saying that it's reality when it's not.
I can't pretend anymore. I don't want to pretend anymore.
He licked his lips.
What do you want then?
She stepped closer, then closer still, until the press of her breasts against his chest.
Now I want to now I want to ride you like a pogo stick.
Chatty Cathy! They talk so much in that book. We had been in each other's lives for 5 years. 2 plus 3 and 3 plus 2 equaled 5. That was my last straw. Bienvenue à ma chaîne, or welcome back. I'm going to be reading book duets. Sure, duologies, whatever you want to call them. I like the term duets. Duet. I'm going to be reading 3 sets of 2. The first one is cheating a little bit. The Love Con and Game On. Now, I could have sworn this was a duet, but I tried looking it up. I can't see anywhere that it is, but we're going to do it anyway because it's literally giving off the same vibe. It's the same font. It's the same, I don't know, it's probably even the same length. I wouldn't be surprised. But it's the same thing. Like, if you were to see this, you would think, oh, that's a duet. Or, oh, that's in the same series. So we're reading it anyway. Or I'm reading it. First up is the Love Con. This one, Game On, just came out. They didn't put the sticker. I believe it just came out maybe last year. Like December, November. It was pretty recent. I mean, we're only in February anyway. Now, this is a romance. It's interracial. We have a plus-sized FMC. And a white guy, a white man. It's reality TV. I love reality TV. It's a competition show. I don't know how to pronounce this word because I don't think I've ever said it out loud. Cosplay? C-O-S-P-L-A-Y. You know, when they dress up as different like characters. It's that kind of competition. We have our FMC, Kenya, who is in a cosplay competition. And we can already see, because I'm only on page like, what, 5? 8, and one of the judges, you can tell, is probably both racist and fatphobic. We could just tell already from reading it. So I hope she puts her in a place at some point. The challenge in the final round is she needs to create 2 different costumes, and she needs to wear it with a partner. So she is going to end up fake dating her roommate, Cameron, and Cameron is gonna help her win this competition. Now, my thing is, I literally just read the competition part where they announced the final round. Nowhere in it did I interpret them saying a loved one, like someone that you're in a relationship with. So I don't understand how she understood that and they're gonna fake date. But obviously it's a romance, so they're gonna fall for each other. It looks long. It's not. It's 302 pages. I don't know why it looks so long. I already marked it on Goodreads that I'm reading it, but I did not look at the rating. I've looked at it before and I know it's low. I just returned a book today to the library because I told myself don't let the rating get in my head, but I did. But I also wasn't liking the book, like the writing. So I went ahead and returned it. But for this book, I want to form my own opinions. So I don't remember what the rating is. And I didn't look when I marked that I was reading it. So I probably won't update where I'm at all on Goodreads, but I will on StoryGraph because you have to scroll to see that rating. So that's not gonna affect me. Hey, so I thought I'd give a little update. I'm not quite at the halfway mark of this, but I still kind of look a little presentable because I wanna go take a shower really quick. So I'm on page 124, chapter 12. It's going okay. Firstly, I want to say there is a reason as to why she's fake dating Cameron. It's because that same judge that I told you that is probably fatphobic and racist, I think her name is Rebecca, they ask both contestants, her, Kenya, and the other guy, who they're going to be partnering with. And the other guy says his husband. So when Rebecca asks her, she's kind of like, oh, like, do you, like, basically kind of saying, like, do you have one? Like, I know you don't, but do you have a significant other? And that's why Kenya lies and says that, yeah, my best friend Cameron. Secondly, I think knowing that they are fake dating, it's coming off as cheesy. So now she's back at home to film the preparation for the final round. Like the final round has already started, but she's back at home to film it. And they're showing moments with her and Cameron, and I don't know, I just feel like it's cheesy. It's like, I feel like if I were watching TV and watching this show, it would come off to me like y'all are doing too much. But it's like, are you doing too much because I know y'all are faking it? That's all I have to say. Hang on, hey. Oh, I forgot my notes. Let's chit chat. I finished the Love Con. I'm gonna give this a 3.5. And I was able to see what the rating was, the average rating was on Goodreads. I thought it was a 3.60 something. I think it's a 3.70. When you think about it, that's actually pretty low for a romance, right? 3.69. I wonder if I wonder if by me giving it a 3, it went down a little bit, because I could have sworn when I logged in, it was 3.70. But again, for a romance, when you think about it, that's actually pretty low. If I saw a thriller that was that much, then I think, oh, like that's gonna be a great thriller, because a lot of people judge thrillers harsher. And anyways, we're getting off topic. Let me say this. What I really loved about it, and you can call me Messy Bessie, I like that the author went the route of showing the toxic slash messiness, the behind the scenes is of reality TV, right? Because it's reality TV, but it's basically just giving regular people that can't act an acting job and saying that it's reality when it's not. It's just a basic script they follow. And a lot of times, the behind the scenes people will be setting things up because they know, oh, if such and such finds out about this, then this will cause some kind of a conflict. That's what we get in here. We get a lot of the other people that are filming that's messing up things and setting up things in this book, which I thought it was messy, and I was here for it. I mean, kind of not, because I mean, you know, but you would think it would cause miscommunication, but I don't think, or did this book have miscommunication? I don't think it had miscommunication. I feel like every book has some kind of miscommunication, but I don't think it was enough for it to be like obvious, like, for someone to say, I hated the miscommunication in here. You know, I don't think it's in here that much to say that. Oh yeah, I said this already in the last clip. The romance was okay, but I think because I knew the premise of it was fake dating, and I guess because I as a reader knew they were fake dating, they just came off so cheesy sometimes, and I think I bookmarked. Okay, here's a scene. I just mentioned it has the one bed trope, and this is the first time I think that they sleep together. And because there's cameras, I believe, in the apartment, or he might just have one bedroom. I don't know. But they're sleeping and they wake up and he has a little, you know. And the way she's sleeping, for some reason, they're not like level, head to head. She's further down and she's kind of by his abdomen. Don't know why she's sleeping like that. And so when she wakes up, she raised her head and found him already awake and staring at her. Caught, there was only one thing to do, brazen her way out. Planting her hands on either side of him, she summoned a saucy smile and a thick southern drawl. Why, Cameron? I mean, I could just talk normal because I'm from the South and the way I talk is a southern accent, technically. But I'm going to do the little cheesy one. Why, Cameron Lassiter? Is that for me? Asking if his thingy was for her. Like, you have to read the whole scene. I'm not reading the whole thing because it's on the other page too. That was just so corny to me. And I might have one other spot. Oh, here we go. They're about to get smexy. And I think there was actually only one sex scene in here, which I love because I've said this multiple times. I hate spicy cartoon covered books, animated covered books, whatever. I hate it. I'll take one spicy scene, but that's it. They're about to get it on one. So she says, I can't pretend anymore. I don't want to pretend anymore. He licked his lips.
What do you want then?
She stepped closer, then closer still, until the press of her breasts. against his chest. Shredded at his control. Her hand flat over his heart scalded him.
Now I want to
I can't even be serious, y'all.
Now I want to ride you like a pogo stick.
Why would you say that? I know you're joking. Well, I mean, you're not really joking because you're serious. It's just nasty. The cheesiness is so disgusting. Relationship, I feel like it came off that they were trying too hard in front of cameras. And I think what didn't help, Cameron would call her babe. Babe. That is probably the ugliest pet name for a significant other that I can think of. It sounds a little condescending in my opinion. That's the vibe it gives off. By him saying babe, especially in front of the cameras, to me, like if I were actually watching that on TV, I would be like, they faking it. They're faking it. I actually want to mention the other 2 sets of duets that I'm going to be reading as well. I'm going to be reading Devout and Too Devout and a fantasy duet, This Poison Heart by Kaylin Barron. But I think I'm actually in the mood for the next book that's in this video. So that's why I wanted to mention it. And that is Devout. I don't even really know what it's about. I think it's a dark urban romance or something, urban fiction. But I just want to mention it just in case because I don't know if I'm going to put all the clips together. I have started Devout by Takira Allen. I don't know how to feel about it. I couldn't even tell you what it's about. We have a woman named Nika who ends up meeting someone when she's 18 and he's 27. Yeah. What's his name again? Denny, but he goes by D-Block. D-Block is 27. I thought I was over reading large age gaps. But yeah, so they meet and he is smitten with her. He's like, that's the one. That's who I'm gonna marry. Mind you, he didn't know who she was. I didn't even know their ages until I continued reading and he finally asks and she says 18. I'm like, oh, yeah. I'm gonna try and stick with it. It takes place 5 years from the past, from them meeting. So when they meet, they're 18 and 27. And 5 years later, she's now 23 and he's 32. He's like head B in town. That's what he is. No one messes with him and they're together. I honestly, the way it's coming off, I'm at about 30%. It's coming off as like their love story because it's switching between past and present. So we get a chapter in the present, we get a chapter in the past, present, past, present. Anytime we go back to the past, we're just starting with where we left off when we finished. As I started it, I was kind of confused because the way, if you read the synopsis, which I'm not reading that long thing, it was coming off as I didn't know if they were gonna be together. They're together now, they're engaged. But I didn't know if like he's some kind of toxic, abusive man and someone else is gonna come and that's who's gonna be her main man, her knight in shining armor, you know, to get her away from that relationship. But as I'm reading it, and I kind of read a little bit of the reviews, I think that's the man for her. I think that's the love interest, Denny, D-Block. Here's the thing. They have a child together as well. Her name's like Milani or can't be Melania. It must be Milani. I think she's like 3. I don't know what's so different about reading this versus the other urban romances and urban fiction that I've read. But there's just something that I don't like about this one. I'm trying not to think too much in it because I know going into it, you know, it's an urban romance, it's an urban fiction. It's gonna be toxic. That relationship is gonna be toxic. But I don't know. I feel like I'm comparing it to other books. I don't know there's just something off about this one. And I don't really like it. I feel like I have more dislikes than likes. The biggest dislike, she calls him daddy. Danny. It's giving Heavenly from Married to Medicine. If you know, you know. Danny, daddy this, that. In the bedroom, sure. But just like calling him that, I don't know. And at first I was gonna let it slide, but they've been saying it in the bedroom too, and I don't even like it in the bedroom either. Because I think it's like every other word You know, just being overly used. Overused. Y'all know what I'm trying to say. The second book is, oh my gosh. Oh, 474 pages. I don't know if I can do it because I'm already not liking the first book. And don't get me wrong, there are some things that I do like. I find I am cheesing a little bit and like, like how do you have two books? It's a duet. The first book is 280 something pages and you double it in the second book. Why would you do that? Hey, look how my hair looks. It's because, you know, when you do like a bun or a ponytail and you swoop it back, but then there's just something, a piece in there that's in there wrong. That's this piece. That and somewhere on this side. Oh, it hurts so bad. So put it back in this. Okay, that's good for now. So this is the first update of Game On. This is about a girl named Samara, Sam for short. She is a gamer, but also she is into, it's part of her job, basically analyzing whether or not games are, seeing what the representation is specifically with Black women in these games. She's like a huge gamer. And one of the games she ends up reviewing, she's like, it's okay, but this is where the problem is. And there's a Black female main character in the game who's a non-playable. Listen, I know nothing about games. I think that means that you can't actually play that character, but she's in there. She's the only Black person, I think, and she is a woman. However, you have to get through her something to get to the next thing, something like that. But she has a horrible, like, brutal death, like a violent death. And she's like, you know, this game seems racist and she said misogyny. The female, like, misogyny. I don't know how to pronounce that. Misogynoir? I don't know. But basically calling out the game, and it took off. There was a whole hashtag. Meanwhile, they go to this convention, and the CEO of that game, Aaron, ends up hiring her as a consultant to work with him to analyze all his games that he's done and make sure that there's nothing in there that could be deemed, you know, racist or misogynistic. I don't know if that's a word either. And obviously they have a little romance. I was very worried going into this. I knew for romance the rating was low, the average rating on Goodreads. But then I was like, I thought I remembered it still being a little higher than the Love Con. It's not. This is like a 3.62. That's very low for a romance. I saw one of my mutuals, I think her name is Weekend Reader or The Weekend Reader. Love her. We have, in my opinion, you know, similar tastes. So she gave it like a 3 or a 3.5. And I really don't like reading reviews. I said that I don't mind reading mutuals reviews, but I still don't like doing that anyway because I'm gonna let it get in my head and it's gonna affect my rating of a book. However, I did skim it and she said that it could have been a novella. I can see that. It's very dragged out. I'm not quite at the halfway mark. I'm on page 154. Like everything that you read in the synopsis takes place within 100 pages of this book, which is crazy because typically it's half of that. In a book, you normally read whatever the synopsis is telling you within the first like 50 pages of a book with what I've read. But this one, it took 100 pages to actually get to the point where, okay, everything that they've said in here, we've gotten there. I'm enjoying it. I'm really enjoying it. I don't know if it's gonna be a 4. That's kind of where I'm at right now. I know it's not a 5 because one of the things is that I've noticed, especially with the other book as well, is that it feels like the romance is in the background. With that being said, I don't know what genre it would fall into if it wasn't romance, you know, because I'm saying romance is in the background, but I think it's because romance is a character-driven genre, and this feels plot-driven. It feels what's the other one? The Love Con felt plot driven. Like we focus a lot on the other aspects of the romance. In the Love Con, we focus on the TV show. We get a lot of detail about her and him making the costumes. Whereas in Game On, it's with whatever plot is in here. We're seeing the gaming talk, whatever. Them making the game and her telling him like they're working. We're literally seeing them working together. And even before that, you know, we get a lot of details of that. And it's not that it's not interesting. It actually is, which is why I'm still kind of leaning towards a 4. But if I were to give this a rating based on it being a romance, it would probably be like a 3 or a 2 because it's just not there. Oh yeah. Okay, one more point. I hit everything without even looking at my notes. The last thing is, I said it wasn't until about 1:30-ish, 1:20 something, where the romance isn't picking up, but we can kind of see them having like stolen glances. You know, something like that where like us as a reader, if we didn't know it was a romance going into it, we could tell like, oh, they might end up being together. Yesterday and today when I was at work, I'm kind of like, I'm itching to pick it up. And then when I get home, I don't pick up squat. I think I mentioned that, or maybe I mentioned it in my head, that I was gonna either end up giving both of these books the same rating or give this one a slightly higher rating. But as of right now, this one is gonna be probably the same rating, and that's only if I gave this one a 3. If I did give this one a 3, I don't remember. I'm gonna give them both a 3, but after finishing this, it's gonna make me want to give this a 3.25 because I don't know, just thinking about both of them, I think I prefer this one over this. I was supposed to write down my notes for Game On. I actually just returned it to the library. I am actually gonna give it a 2.5, round it up to a 3. The biggest thing for me, typically when I read books, sometimes I'm not into the first half, but I'm into the second half, and it makes me forget how it makes me want to rate it higher because I forgot that I didn't like the first half. This one was the opposite. I enjoyed the first half and it lost me actually right before the second half, but I'll just say the second half because it like 48% of the way in, you know, might as well just say 50%. And it made me want to give it a 2-star because I forgot that I actually enjoyed the first part. It's actually right after they have sex. Honestly, I did not like the romance. They were cute, they were fine. I just didn't like the execution. Crazy because I kind of felt the same way about the Love Con as well. But the Love Con makes that seem like a 4-star compared to this one. And I really thought that I would enjoy this one so much. It was very cheesy. Oh, the dialogue. Oh my gosh. Chatty Cathy. They talk so much in that book. Everybody had dialogue. And I'm like, what the hell? And then the part where they're about to do the do, it took a whole chapter because they're yapping. They discussing, oh yeah, you know, like take the socks off or whatever. And just chatting. And I'm like, why are y'all talking so much? Just do the thing. And it's funny because people bring up like, oh, like this book didn't have a lot of dialogue. And in this one, it was so noticeable that it had too much dialogue. So that was one of the big things. It is very long. I mentioned that one of my mutuals had posted in their review on Goodreads that it could have been a novella. For sure, I think the premise of it, the plot of it for sure could have been a novella. But not even a novella, just shorter than what it is. So it's about 363 pages. The first part is very dragged out. But I think 100 pages for sure could have been taken out. So make it 260, you know, 280. It wasn't necessarily bad. But when I got to that second part where we highlighted the romance more, I wasn't happy with it. I don't know if I would read a romance by this author again because I felt the same way about the first book. I have to think about that when I rate books, right? I'm rating it not only how I like the book, but going into it, how did it fit the genre? Like if you're going to promote this book as a romance, I want to like it because of the romance. I'm getting off track. I might as well also say I DNF'd about. It's not for me. They started doing math in the book. Let me see if I have a highlight. Right here, okay. So it's an age gap. I believe I mentioned that. Right now, she's 23 and he's 32. It says, another sign we were preordained, at least in my perception. I was now 23 and Denny now 32. I was a reflection of him, literally. I felt it to be a monumental year for us. We had been in each other's lives for 5 years. 2 plus 3 and 3 plus 2 equaled 5. That was my last straw. That was my last straw. Why are you doing math in a book? When I tell you that burned me up, and I normally don't rate books if I DNF. If I DNF, you're not even really going to know about it. If I had to rate this, it would be a 1 star. I also didn't like the use of the word daddy in it. I didn't even like the relationship. And it's crazy because I've read other urban fiction, other urban romances where, yeah, you know, it's a little toxic. But there's just, I guess it's the way that the characters are introduced in those books. I still like the characters. I still like the men because it's normally the men that are toxic in them. I still like them. But in this one, I really didn't like him. And I knew if I even continued to read it, I wouldn't want to read the second book. If I can barely handle the 200-page one, I'm not going to read the 400-page one. So that's it. Yay. Come here. Oh, this is hot. Hey, I've come back with a clip for another book. This Poison Heart, I've started it. I'm really enjoying this. This is the last duet in here that I'll be reading. So this is about a girl named Breezes. I think I've been saying Breezes in my head. And she has this magical power that has to do with plants and flowers. If they're dead, they'll come back alive. Sometimes if she's out in public and she has some kind of emotion, you know, I don't know if it's sadness or anxiety or whatever, but these plants will like try and go to her. And then like people are looking and they're like, what the hell is going on? We find out that she's actually adopted. So she's living with this couple, which that's her mom's. One she calls mom, one she calls Mo, which is short for mom. They have a flower shop and that's where they work. They know about her power. She can cultivate like different things. One day they get a call that her birth mom's sister, because her birth mom Celine is dead, and they get a call that birth mom, so Celine's sister, Cersei, has also died, but she left her mansion and stuff for Breezes. Breezes and her 2 moms end up going to that mansion for the summer. And they'll decide like whether or not they're going to stay or not. And while she's there, there's kind of this mystery because it sounds like there's some kind of secret garden that's filled with poisonous plants. Before she left for this house, she's been messing around with these poisonous plants. Ends up finding out that it doesn't affect her. So something that might cause hives and stuff to other people, it doesn't affect her at all. She discovers this garden filled with poisonous plants. I don't know if it's a 5-star kind of enjoyment, but I think the biggest thing for me is I don't know what I should be guessing. Hey, so I'm almost to the halfway mark of this Poison Heart. I am on like 45%, page 169. Let's just say 170, and I have exactly 200 pages to read left. I am really enjoying this book. She finds that Cersei has left her some notes, kind of explaining why she might have these powers, and basically telling her that she knows that she had these powers even though they weren't in each other's lives. It's almost reminding me of the Inheritance games. Even though I didn't like the first book, I enjoyed the Hawthorne Legacy, whatever the second book is called. It's kind of reminding me of that because Cersei is leaving her these notes and she has this garden in the back that's filled with poisonous plants. Apparently, Cersei and her sister Celine were running like an apothecary. It's kind of like there's still something being unsaid. I'm still not so sure what the conflict is going to be. I feel like it won't hit until the very end because I'm sure it's going to end on a cliffhanger. There was another guy introduced and it kind of looked like he liked her, but I'm like, she didn't say anything. Oh, I like girls. I think it's not that he likes her. I have a feeling, yeah, like he likes her as a friend, but I have a feeling he knows something that she doesn't. So I think that's why he's trying to befriend her. There's another girl character that was introduced literally a chapter ago. So I think that's gonna be her love interest in here. Another thing that I wanted to say this morning, the reason why it doesn't feel like a 5 is because not only do I not know what the conflict is gonna be, like typically you could guess something, it doesn't feel like high stakes. It's like low stakes. Our main character, Breesis, she's kind of opened the apothecary back up, and it's like, that's it. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know, it's like we're getting hints of this mystery, but it's like, what is the mystery? 5 stars. Can you believe this? 5 stars. A YA fantasy at that. Excuse the sun. The sun is sunning today. What did I want to say? The one critique that I almost had that would have made it a 4.75 was something super picky, and I've taken points off, like giving it a 0.75 in other cases, but I'm not doing it for this. And that is, I felt like the buildup was a little slow. It wasn't until about the 70% mark where I could not put it down. And that's when I kind of realized, okay, this is the conflict. And obviously it's going to go into the second book. But I think the buildup was perfect. After having read it, because I know had something been taken out. And the book, I mean, it's 370 pages. The ending, oh my, and when I say the ending, I'm talking about the last 70%, not last 70%, but the last like 30% of the book. I was like this. It was funny. It was actually really funny. They had so many moments in here. I did bookmark a section, and actually when I logged on here the first time to say that I had started reading this, I meant to read this part and I didn't. I think this is with Mo. Breesis, her moms are called Mom and Mo. Now what part was this? Oh, yeah. Marie is in, I think this is when they met for the first time. But they're somewhere, I think like in the apothecary. Yeah, they're talking, and all of a sudden, the door of the apothecary bounced open. Mom and Mo fell head first into the room. Mo practically did a full barrel roll, then jumped up and stood at the doorway. I was just checking these door jams. She stammered. Rubbing her shoulder. The jams are loose and the hinges are broke. We gotta get that fixed. She ran her hand over the jam like she was inspecting it, then turned to Mom. Babe, can you call somebody to fix this? Mom took out her phone and put it to her ear without unlocking it or dialing a number. She pretended to talk to someone and then paused, shoving her phone back in her pocket. We were eavesdropping. When you read it for the first time and the scene unfolds in your head, it's gonna be way funnier. Update. So I did go ahead and start reading This Wicked Fate. Here's the thing. I don't know if this is going to be a 5. I'm only on page 74. I'm not going to talk about plot because this literally continues where we left off in book 1. One thing that I never mentioned about the first book is that it has a little bit of Greek mythology in it. And if you've watched other videos of mine, you would know that I'm not a fan of, like, I'm a fan of reading Greek mythology, but for some reason, it doesn't make sense in my head. In the first book, I guess I didn't mention it because it's kind of small. There's other stuff that I'm thinking about. It's at the forefront in this one. And it's so much information. So I find myself being more confused in here. In the first book, the mystery was really good. At some point, like when we finally got to what the mystery was. And in this one, you know what the mystery is. The way the book is setting up, I don't feel like there's gonna be any plot twists or anything that happens in the book that was as shocking as what happened in the first book. The other thing I noticed, there are some cheesy moments, but I hate when we don't just stop at a funny one-liner. I hate when a character says something funny, the other one responds back, and then all of a sudden we have 2 paragraphs worth of funny dialogue or a whole page worth of funny dialogue. I don't care for it. I think the majority of it, it's coming from Marie. And this is Marie. She's introduced in the first book. We're seeing a lot more of her in this one. I think she's trying too hard. For example, I'm not going to get into all the details. Some of the characters from the first book, there's Marie, and there is someone in her family, I don't know, grandpa, nephew, I don't know, named Alec, and he's also in the first book. And it's actually kind of not funny, but it was actually scary when we were first introduced to him in the first book. And him and Marie be cutting up on the hunt for something, and Marie ends up FaceTiming Alec. The whole scene, she says, Alec, Marie said, we're here. Wait, were you asleep? Alec grumbled something into the phone. Marie sighed, sir, if you don't wake up right now, she rolled her eyes. I'm going to call you on video. Just hit the green button. It was funny, but let me say, it starts on this line, kind of the middle paragraph, and it continues on to like the next page halfway down. That was technically a whole page worth of this scene, and it's funny. It's different when it's coming from Marie. Again, it just comes off as if she's trying too hard to do something, to be hard. I don't know. And she's not a bad character. I like her as a character. It's just these funny lines that she says I just don't like. Now, I will say about the confusing part, if I don't get it in the moment, it's okay. I know that down the line, we're gonna revisit it and it should be easier to digest. Okay, I am doing my final thoughts for this Wicked Fate days after I finished it, so bear with me. I was gonna log in again like almost right before the halfway mark because I realized what I wasn't liking about the book. The relationship. Marie. We're going back to Marie. We're introduced to Marie in this Poison Heart. And I liked it, but I realized that we were introduced to her later in the book. So I'm like, well, there's not going to be like an instant relationship, right? We're going to just see friends, you know, building that rapport with each other. But I was like, okay, so we're going to get more in this. However, there was a lack, I don't know if this makes sense, but a lack of foundation. There was no foundation for the friendship because it was just put in here so far, in my opinion, that when we got to this one, I wasn't expecting them to be together. Within the first, 30, 40 pages, the first scene between them, something happens and Marie kisses her on the cheek and I'm like, oh, y'all are together now. And Breezes actually makes that kind of comment and I'm like, so you don't even realize this. Like, this is news to you too. How are y'all together when we barely saw, there wasn't enough friendship in this book for me to believe that they belong together in the second book. That's what I'm trying to say. I don't know if I said this as well. I should have looked. But I was right to be, that sounds too serious, but to say that I was right to be worried going into this one. But what I mean by that is, I believe I mentioned that I just didn't know if there would be plot twists. Let me put this one up too. If there would be plot twists in this one like it was in this one. And I was right. Let me at least say my rating. I gave this a 4.5, rounded down to a 4. Let's just get that out the way because now I'm about to be talking about both of them, making comparisons. In this one, overall, it was just a really good book. I was into it, but when we got to like the last 30-ish% of it, it was like things were just happening. We were finding out things. What made that so exciting in this one was that going into it, I didn't even know what the mystery was, what I should be guessing. Whereas going into this one, we're taking off right from where we left off in this one. So we already know what they're on the hunt for. We already know what to expect. There weren't any twists in this one, in my opinion. When I was younger, when I was in 6th grade, we watched, what's that movie? Percy Jackson. What's his name? Logan Lerman, maybe? I don't know if that is his name and why I still know it. The Lightning Thief, maybe? I remember us reading it and then we watched it. And if you guys remember, it's kind of like this journey. That's kind of what this one is. Not really finding out any new information. With that being said though, there was still some action in this one towards the end. It was a lot of action. I was like, oh my gosh, like what are we doing? And it's one of those conflicts where it makes you so mad. There's this, I don't know if that would be called a trope, but I don't want to say it because that would be a total spoiler. But there's this certain trope in books, a very specific trope in movies and TV shows and in books that just get on my nerves when it happens. Oh my gosh, like it's just so frustrating because it's like you just want to get in there and beat somebody up. Overall, great duet. So what's that laugh? Anyways, that's it for today's video. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you next week. Bye.